Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, it's Videos. Back at another Card Fit Vanguard deck profiles. If you guys enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, and let's get on started, shall we? So this time we're covering Great Nature Tester Fox. It's one of the more recent releases that we've had. Tester Fox, it came out during Legion. I don't know why. Whenever I think of Legion, this is the thing I associate with it the most. Probably because when the first time I Google searched Legion, Tester Fox was the first thing that popped up. And I don't know. I just don't like Legion in general, so Tester Fox being the thing I see doesn't already we get off to a bad start with it. But I do think Tester Fox is a pretty interesting deck, so I've chosen to do that profile on it now. We have not gotten all the cards released for Great Nature, but considering what the last card most likely will be, based off an assumption, I don't know what specifically it would be, but I can guess it's grade. If it's not something of great importance, then I won't run it, but if it is something of great importance, I will put in the comments of why I would run it and what I would run it as in replacement. So let's go and get this profile started, shall we? Because this is an interesting deck. So first up, we have our starter in Jet Ink Fox. Grade 0 boost, 10k shield, 6k base, auto when wrote upon, draw a card, then if your opponent's Vanguard to grade 1 or greater, get a quick shield ticket to your hand. Standard start, nothing special about it, you get that draw, and then if you basically went second, unless your opponent's grade lock, you get a quick shield, so that quick shield can be nice for a 5k shield, or what its main purpose is just discarding, and that draw, you know, top deck off that draw. Let's all be honest, at some point in our time spent of playing Vanguard, we have top decked off this skill. Like, I have top decked numerous times off this skill, so I can definitely say for sure it's good. And the reason why Jet Fox is our starter is because, you know, Fox, like Tester Fox, you can obviously see the resemblance. By the way, this is a spoiler, I don't run Isabelle. The reason why I don't run Isabelle is because I consider Isabelle her own main grade 3. I do not consider her support grade 3. That is why she is not here. But if I was willing to run her, I would basically have a full Fox deck outside of the grade 1 lineup and part of the grade 2 lineup. So yeah, let's continue with the triggers. First up, we have 4 draw PGs in Cable Sheep. Grade 0 boost, 0 shield, 5k base, draw trigger to your 4 seconds. You may have up to 4 summons in your deck. Auto Garland, place this card 1 and choose one of your units cannot be attended battle. So just standard PG. This is what you use your quick shield for. Just defend yourself. That's all it is. And you want that draw to help you get hand cards to make sure you can continue to call rear guards. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing about this deck is just making sure you can swing at your opponent. That's all that matters in the end, just swinging at the opponent. And then we have 8 front and 4 Castanet Donkey, 4 correction Chinchilla. You can run crits to force out more guarding power on your bigger numbers, but I prefer fronts because when you have 4 attacks that are all swinging for at the very least a 15k drop, it's better than swinging for 1 attack that is, or like 2 attacks that are 15k drops and one of them being extra critical. So yeah, Castanet Donkey and Chinchilla is my thing. If you want to go like some weird trigger lineup where you run crits, go ahead, but I prefer 8 front, 4 draws, and then we run 4 heals and Insurge Dr. Carebat. Yeah, it's the normal heal. Here's why. We all know I don't like heal guardians at this point, right? Like, I don't have to explain it. If you want to go check out the video where I actually go into depth about it more or less, go watch my locks video from a few months ago and you will get a basic explanation of why I don't like heal guardians. The main thing just being they're detrimental to my playstyle, especially because there are only 2 decks I run heal guardians in, and Great Nature Locks was one of them, so considering the fact I'm not playing Locks, and I still hated it in that, I'm obviously not going to play it here. So 4 of Carebat, run what you want in this place, but I prefer the normal heal. Then we move on to our grade 1s. First up, we have 3 copies of Clerical Kakapo. Grade 1 boost, 10k shield, 8k base, auto van or rear, 1 place, put the top card of your deck into your drop zone, and perform one of the followings based on the card's type. Normal unit, draw a card and discard 1. Trigger unit, draw a card and put a card from your hand to the bottom of the deck. Okay, so obviously as you can see, we're running the almost gave away secret information on pure accident. We are running the lottery cards because that's what Tester Fox is based around. It is based around the lottery ability. I wish that was an actual keyword, but it is not. So, you know, we just focus on that mill ability, and that skill is good. My thing is this, I hate the skill. I do, but not for the reason you think. The draw is always a plus. The downside of this is, it's either you see a normal unit and you draw and drop 1, or you see a trigger and you draw and you're replacing the trigger that went to drop. Downside is that involves you losing a trigger. And losing triggers is one of the worst things you can in the deck because there are a lot of skills that you would actually prefer to see triggers from, and not to mention you just don't want to lose triggers in general, even if you are replacing it with a different trigger in your hand. I prefer to hit a trigger off its skill, but I still very much hate it. But I'm really glad that he's free. Yes, I mean his effect is mandatory mill, which means the second you place him, you might deck out faster. But, you know, since he's free, I'm willing to pass by that. So 3 of Kakapo, 3 of straight up best card in this deck, and if I had the decision-making skills of a smart person, I probably would have put it at 4 of Amated Lemur, because when I was building the grade 2 and grade 3 lineup, I kind of ran into a problem, and thank God this thing exists. Grade 1 boost, 10k shield, 8k base, auto rear when placed. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 or greater, mill the top card and perform one of the following depending on its type. Normal unit, soul charge 1, trigger unit, counter charge 1. That's amazing. This deck uses up a decent amount of both soul and counterblast, so whatever one you see from this is already a plus. It is good. Preferably you do get a counter charge, because I think there is more counterblast in this deck than soul, and I am willing to lose a trigger just to counter charge. Remember, I was locked into counterblast for a whole year just because me and my friend would only play on CFA, and my soul was locked off because my keyboard stopped working. So I straight up have so much counterblast usage issues to where I will sacrifice almost anything to get a counter charger, to any extent, and this is no exception. 3 of, I don't care how many triggers I have to lose, I don't care what trigger I have to lose, I don't care if I have to lose a heal trigger and it's my last heal in the deck, I will willingly lose the heal trigger just to get a counter charge. 3 of Affected Lemur, amazing good card. Then we have 3 of Tapping Cat. Grade 1 boost, 10k shield, 8k base, auto is retired from rear, or this card is discarded from your deck. Soul Blast 1, perform one of the following. Draw a card, or choose one of your rear guards and it gets +5 for the turn. Okay, so that's decently fine. If you mill it from basically half the deck, I think most of this deck has milling capabilities. I think the only cards that don't have it is Tapping Cat and one of the grade 2s and maybe one of the grade 3s. Nope. All the grade 3s have it, so it's just Tapping Cat and I think one of the grade 2s. Every other normal in this deck has the ability to mill, which is really nice. So that means, either you kill it by rear guard effect, or the second it's milled out, you can Soul Blast 1 if you have it to draw a card, so basically you get to replace it or add guarding power to your hand. Or you can choose one of your rear guards and power it up, making it to seem like a final turn finisher, especially because in this deck you can get multi-attack off. So Tapping Cat's a really nice grade 1 to have, and I like it. It gets power, gets you possible hand cards, and it works with this deck's entirety, so 3 of. Then we have 4 of Prober of Black Jet Cecile. Grade 1 boost, 10k shield, 8k base. Auto van or rear when placed. Put the top card of your deck into your drop zone. Perform one of the following effects depending on its card type. Normal unit, you may soul charge 1, and this unit gets +5 for the turn. Okay, so basically, if you see a normal unit, the skill is a free +5. Because that's what it does. And it's a mill too, technically speaking, because one of them's going to drop, the other one's going to soul. Or if it's a trigger unit, you draw 2 and drop 2. I hate that one. I hate that one so much because every time I use this skill, every time that happens, yes, I get 2 cards I want to get, but she only ever shows up when I have the ideal hand, and then when I see a trigger unit, it is a mandatory draw 2 and drop 2, meaning I have to willingly lose out on hand cards for no reason, especially when I have the perfect hand, and then I always have to debate what's wrong. It's easy to discard 1 card even if you have a perfect hand. 2 cards is asking way too much. I question why she's a double rare, because none of her skill is particularly amazing, because it's either a normal unit and the skill is just a free +5 for the turn, or it's a trigger unit, and in my opinion, I think I've seen more minusing from that than plussing, but she does help, because on the rare occasions that I actually bricked and I see a trigger from her skill, she has fixed my problem, but every other time she has been the bane of my existence. But at the same time, I don't really have any other grade 1 ride targets outside of Clerical over here, so not really much choice. I run for Cecile. I beg that she does not screw me. Also, she's a fox, so yeah, I beg she doesn't screw me for shit-talking her. But she also has a Vanguard or rear guard skill, so yeah, like I said, main grade 1. Let me move on to grade 2s. 3 copies of Lovey-dovey Dotter. Grade 2 intercept, 5k shield, 9k base, auto van or rear. When placed, counterblast 1, mill the top card, perform one of the following effects based on its type. Norm unit, called to rear. Okay, so that's just a plus to anything. Straight up any normal unit you get to call, and everything in this deck that's a normal unit, you're gonna get a plus off of, because all of them have rear guard skills except for one of them. Every normal unit in this deck has a rear guard skill except for one of them. So if this thing mills a normal unit, you get a plus. There's no minus to it. And if it's a trigger unit, this unit gets +15 for the turn. Okay, this is the one I don't want to waste triggers for, because yeah, you're getting 5k more, but at the same time, you're taking that 10k possibility away from another unit and just giving it to this. And to be fair with you, I think it works just better as a call from drop card. So Lovey-dovey Dotter, preferred to see a normal unit. If you see a trigger, it's not the end of the world, especially if you're going on final turn mode, then it's kind of a good thing, but I would just prefer to get an extra rearguard call just for free and not have to waste another hand card. So 3 copies of Lovey-dovey Dotter, because on occasions it can make a board and actually be useful, and then on other occasions it kind of just screws you. Then we run 3 copies of Scientist of Black Sheen Mathilda. Yes, I went for the full Fox theme, or as mostly as possible outside of certain cards. Isabelle. So grade 2, intercept 5k shield, 9k base, auto van or rear. When placed, counterblast 1, mill the top card, perform one of the following based on its type. Normal unit till end of turn. When your opponent will call cards from hand to guard circle for that battle that this unit attacked, they must call 2 or more at the same time, or if it's a trigger unit, it gets a crit. Okay, so pluses out of this. 1, it just turns any trigger into a crit. That's why this is here. That's why I don't run crits, because on the occasions that I see triggers from her, she works so well in a grade 2 rush. I remembered I called 3 of them at the same time. I didn't know if it would be worth it or not. I paid 3 counterblasts, Milt 3, there was 2 fronts, and then a normal unit, so one of them was only guardable via 2 cards, and then the other 2 had double critical, and because of that I just started throwing down things I could just get numbers behind the 2 Mathildas that had extra crits. I rammed face, my opponent took both of them, I drive checked the front because I swung with the Vanguard first, they saw no triggers and I pushed them to 5. From 0 to 5 in one go because of this. I love Mathilda, she's incredible, she's amazing, card is good. Especially because she can restrict guard, and it works till end of turn. So you could just abuse this with, like, Big Belly, because Big Belly can just restand her, and then she could just keep forcing out guard, or, you know, the extra crit still works too, because it works for end of turn. So all around Mathilda's really nice. She puts pressure the second she starts attacking, so really nice attacker. Wish she wasn't a counterblast cost, because we already have enough counterblast cost, but A, she's still good, I like her, 3 of perfect grade 2 rush card outside of this. And then 4 copies of our last grade 2 and the most important grade 2, yet the only one that doesn't have a Vanguard skill, Illusion Scientist Researcher Fox. Grade 2 intercept, 5k shield, 9k base, auto additional rear guard when it's discarded from your deck. When a card is discarded from your deck, I need to read, this unit gets plus 5k for the turn. So Barcode Zebra, but restricted to an Accel circle. Okay, that's fair. You know, Barcode Zebra, basically if you played any lottery-based deck, you ran Barcode Zebra out of 4 of or 3 of, because it was your only, well, it wasn't your only way to gain power, but it was a free +5 wherever the fuck it was on the board for every card you milled. So you would be insane not to run Barcode Zebra at any amount that isn't 1. So, or I'm sorry, that isn't 0. And then auto, when it's retired from your rear guard by your card's ability, counterblast 1, search after 1 card with the same card name as your Vanguard, reveal, put it to hand and shuffle your deck. Okay, benefits. This thing is basically the MVP of every mill card, because this is literally the, outside of Tapping Cat, it is the only other unit that doesn't have a milled skill, so really good. So it automatically gets pluses from anyone else's ability going off. And not to mention that when she dies by abilities, she can get you essentially a free gift for the next turn by getting you a grade 3, or just getting you a Persona Ride. I mean, not Persona Ride. I mean, yes, in Premium, she can get you a Persona Ride, but she gets you a free ride for next turn, or PG fodder. Downsides to her: cost a counterblast, doesn't mill, so she's not go synergy with other cards, and if this is your only other option for hand cards and you don't have any millers, then she's effectively a vanilla outside of possibly your Vanguard skill. But Researcher Fox is all around still a good grade 2, adds numbers on the additional rearguard circle, gets possible hand card for new grade 3, and just becomes main retired target. So for Researcher Fox, I also like its art. It's like more like a sophisticated Mathilda-ish. Not really. Same Mathilda isn't sophisticated. Then we move on to our grade 3s. First up, we have 3 copies of Honorary Professor Chatnoir. Like I said, Fox. I consider Fox of the cat variety, so I pretty much shoved every cat grade 3 together. I also include Panthers of the cat variety. That already tells you what one of my grade 3s is. So yeah, anyways, on to their skills. So first up, Honorary Professor Chatnoir, grade 3 200 Accel gift, 12k base. Really nice support card for this deck, but also works as a main grade 3. Auto van or rear, once per turn. When this unit attacks, counterblast 1, draw a card, and then discard the top card of your deck and perform one of the following effects based on its type. If it was on van, you perform both effects regardless of what it was. So if it's a normal unit, you choose 2 of your rear guards, they get +5 until end of turn. At the end of the turn, they die, so you can pick itself, you can pick another unit, they get +5, and then they die at end of turn. And if it's a trigger unit, choose one of your rear guards until end of turn, it can attack from back row, it gets +5, and at the end of the turn, that unit dies. So all are really good, and you can still pick the unit itself because it doesn't have to be a unit in the back row. So pluses to this, you get a draw from its skill. So you're getting a draw, and because you have to retire either way, at least you're not losing out on the unit because you're kind of replacing it. And whatever unit you give it to, it gets +5. So, I mean, granted, it has to be a rear guard, but it gets +5, meaning it can probably hit unless they hit triggers, or unless it's a grade 1 and you're playing against with 7k base and you're playing against a force deck, which would suck for you, but whatever. So, yeah, Chatnoir is really nice. It can work as a main grade 3. It can work as a backup grade 3, especially if you just see a trigger, because then you get more attacks out of it, and as long as your opponent doesn't net damage triggers, then you're fine. So Chatnoir all around is a really nice card. I like its art. It's very, I want to say realistic, but it's very fluffy and nice looking. So I give it a 3 of, because it's just a nice card. Then we move on to School Hunter Leopold, grade 3 twin drive Accel gift, 12k base, continuous Vanguard. I argue this is the worst out of the group, by the way, in terms of just what its abilities are, not how they work. Continuous Vanguard. If your Vanguard has a grade 3 in Soul, if you have a grade 3 in Soul, this unit gets the auto. This unit's auto abilities activate 2 times, including its on-place abilities. So auto van, when placed, put the top card of your deck into drops and perform on the following based on its type. Normal unit, look at top 4, call 2 grade 2 or less cards from among them to rear, and shuffle your deck. You don't have to call 2, but you can call 2. And trigger unit, this unit gets plus 15k and a crit for the turn. So either you sack 2 triggers, and, well, assuming you got a grade 3 in your soul, you either sack 2 triggers, and this becomes a 42 triple critical, while your opponent's at grade 2, I might add, because there is a way to get a grade 3 into soul early, and that's this thing. Or you sack a combination of the two, or you just sack its first skill twice and you call 4 rear guards from the top 8, essentially, more or less. So Leopold is nice. He can either net you a board or make him big, or do both at the same time. Reason why he's the worst out of the 3, because while Chatnoir's skill does not net nearly as much power gain as this one does, this one is an on-place. It is an on-place, and while, yes, it is free, it is an on-place, and after that it is useless. This one, while, yes, it costs a counterblast and is not free, it is on attack. So as long as it lives, it still gets you something. Now, I do not think both of them are horrible, because if you play them in tandem together, one can get you multi-attack and or more power, and then one can just get you a board. So Leopold is all around an amazing grade 3 when it's placed on van, because once it's placed on rear, it's just a straight up vanilla, and after the second it is placed, it's also still straight up vanilla. But the fact that he can still net you a big advantage off of just a top 4 get a board, Leopold is an amazing grade 3 for that reason alone, and you can use cards like Chatnoir to combo with him, get more numbers, especially with all these things getting called. You can use Lovey-dovey Dotter now, get calls, especially because once more free, so you can basically pay whatever counterblast or soul blast cost you want. You can use Mathilda to get some exchange with numbers. You can get possibly Affected Lemur, hopefully, to try to get Soul Charge or Counter Charge. Clerical over here, all around this card just works, just not on rear, and is a vanilla after it's placed, so try not to sit on it, but it's fine if you have to sit on it, because at least that implies that you took advantage of one turn. But the second you're right to take full advantage of that turn, rush them down, make sure that they suffer. Make sure that if you have to sit on this, you're at least making your opponent have to sit on like some shitty ass hand. So 3 of Leopold. And then we move on to our last card, 4 copies of our main grade 3 Magic Scientist Tester Fox. Grade 3 twin drive Accel gift, 12k base, auto when placed on van or rear, counterblast 1, mill top 2, or sorry, not mill top 2, put 2 cards from your drop zone on the bottom of the deck. So you get to not deck yourself out. Okay, that's a fair cost for a counterblast. And this unit gets plus 5k until end of turn. Okay, 17k base, that's fair. Dropping down to 10k for a grade 2 rush. If you put one norm unit and 1 trigger unit back for its cost, search after 1 illusionist, scientist, or researcher fox called to rear and shuffle your deck. Okay, nothing is stopping you from sending back 2 heals, or 2 crits, 2 fronts, etc. You can send back whatever the fuck you want. You can send back 2 broken ass norm units, you can send back 2 triggers, but you won't get the second effect off. Or you can send back 1 of each, and then call a researcher fox. So then, she can get pluses off milling abilities, and not to mention, it's just another rear guard that you get to board. And not to mention that if it ended up in drop, you can just send it back to deck as your norm unit, get a trigger back to deck, and then call her. This is like one of my favorite things because it saves you trigger units, because it actually puts them back into your deck, and then it shuffles them. It shuffles them, so they're not staying at the bottom. It is so good. Unfortunately, it shuffles unfortunately, if you don't send back if you don't send back a normal and a trigger unit, you don't shuffle, but it's fine because 2 triggers back is still something. Or you could just actually shuffle and get that Researcher Fox. So it's really nice that he can add you a rear guard and act van or rear once per turn. Soul Blast 1, choose one of your rear guards, and it gets plus 10 for the turn. That's just stupid. Okay, sure. Soul Blast 1. Who wants plus 10? Anyone. This works so good in Big Belly, but whatever. But that's just a good skill. Act van or rear. Like I said, this is honestly probably the most main grade 3 out there because both of these 2 work off of rear guard. So you can probably just sit on this thing and then have 2 of these on the combine. And then choose one of your rear guard, and then at the end of the turn, retire the unit that you chose. And if it was Researcher Fox, draw a card. So you get a plus from picking this unit. And not to mention, because this would have been the unit you retired, you can counterblast 1 if you still have that counterblast, and get a copy of this as well as on van. So you technically get a draw of 2. Get you numbers, get you possible board. One of the few Great Nature cards I see in the lottery deck that actually prevents you from decking out, and is still semi-consistent. The only thing I want more is a countercharger. And if that's what Bushy gives us as our next reveal, depending on what grade it is, I might shove it in without any questions asked because I already have a target in mind for it if it is a counter charger. If it's not, might not run it unless it's a soul charger. If it's a soul charger, counter charger, it's going in. If it's neither, then it can stay out. But yeah, Tester Fox, really good grade 3. I like it. It's solid, works on van or rear, allows for more room with Leopold. It's all the stuff for Tester Fox. Then we move on to, I guess, 5XL1s, 5XL2s. Personally, go as you wish, especially because now that you're not as likely to deck out. I mean, you're still likely to deck out, but Tester Fox really slows it down a bit. So you can afford to maybe go XL2s to get that draw and accelerate it and still get your numbers, but, get more hand cards to consistently call out, or just go XL1, beat the shit out of them. So XL1 and XL2 are similar in the sense that when you get them, you make a new front or rear guard circle. The difference is the unit on the XL1 gets plus 10 during your turn, and the unit on the XL2 gets plus 5 during your turn, but you get to draw a card the second the XL circle is made. And the order they go in is front left, front right, and then you just keep alternating between the 2. That is an actual rule thing, and if you don't do it, you might get disqualified from tournaments. I don't really know how strict Bushy judges on this, but I'm just going to assume they judge strictly. I might be wrong, but who cares? So, really good on the number gain. Like I said earlier, if you want to go for that rush, go XL1. If you want to go for the making sure that your hand card amount is consistent enough to go for a rush, go XL2. Just saying. I prefer XL2, but go XL1 if you want to go with XL1. And then we have a quick show when one of your attacks is specific for the battle, and you can just play it down. Okay, there's not much in this deck that discards stuff, so you can use it for the PG, or you can use it for the 5k shield, or you can just use it for Clerical or Cecile. Otherwise, you kind of just get to keep it in hand for your own personal means. But yeah, it's an okay card. So you one of, because you can only get out of one of. And that's it for the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. I have the nice little full art here for you so you can see the Legion. All around, I do think this deck is good. And my reasoning for this is this. It's the same as the Regalia deck, except different. It is so varied in how it works because there are 3 different grade 3s that can all work as main grade 3s. Except there's an objectively better one to run as the main grade 3, and it's the one you don't think it would be. It would be Leopold over here. Because Leopold is the one that has a solid grade 3 skill, even if it's just an on place. Because these 2 can both work from rear, but they can still pull weight if they're on van. You have such a deck of alternating grade 3s that have different styles to them. One focuses on the Vanguard, one focuses on everyone, and then one focuses on one singular unit. It's so good. They're all consistent. They're all really strong in their own rights. And I think the deck is just straight up amazing. You get this thing on the board, you're probably already winning, not gonna lie. Especially because with 2 of these being retiring grade 3s, and she can just search another copy of the one on the Vanguard, it's just a plus. It is just a plus. This deck is really good. I think it embodies the perfect style of Great Nature retiring their own rear guards and pumping them up, followed by the lottery style. I think it's the perfect combination of them, and I like what Bushy did with this. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord, follow Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your Vanguards.